Come on, Bafana, get with the program.
What program are you on about?
The South African alternative music scene has arrived, Jana, and it is more hard-hitting than ever before.
You've just discovered this. Well, I've got news for you. This week we explore a range of music and subcultures as we hit the performance-oriented goth and industrial scene.
Indeed we do, and if you thought that angle grinders were simply relegated to B-grade horror movies, well, think again, because you obviously haven't seen bands like Brain Scarter or Live Jimmy Presley live on stage.
Producer Belinda Bruno gets hardcore as she hits the fringe. She discovers that it is much more intellectual and cutting edge than you ever thought.
Alternative, a complex nightmare of labels and genres, a culture existing on the outer limits, a fringe culture, marginalized and almost exclusively denied commercial airplay. Yet Marilyn Manson's Sweet Dreams was the most requested song on MTV for 3 months.
Sweet dreams are made of these. Who had a mind to disagree?
Delving into the dark side of popular culture and twisting it into teenage anthems, Marilyn Manson has become an icon for alternative music. Manson says, "Prick your finger, it is done. The moon has now eclipsed the sun. The angel has spread his wings. The time has come for bitter things."
Some of them want to be
Dark and loud, Alternative's black-clad flock gather outside a club in Sunnyside, Pretoria.
The scenes are split up into, you get basically the gothic scene, the industrial, and what we call alternative. But within each group, there's a subsection. You know, you get funk rock, and you get skate punk, and you get punk, and you get doom gothic, and ethereal gothic, and gothic dark wave.
I think a lot of people are concerned about alternative music because they could automatically perceive it as a violent, antisocial, destructive force. I don't think that is the case. I mean, we're living in the 90s in a global village situation where everything is very much the emphasis on the individual.
I think for me, the appeal of the whole alternative scene is just that it seems so much more attuned to my experiences as a person. I think a lot of people at some stage or another begin to realize that their experiences and their lives just don't correlate to what is being dictated to them by popular culture.
But the industrial scene is no recent phenomenon. It has a rich history steeped in noise, speed, magic, ritual, and violence.
Industrial music started in the late 70s with bands like Stuzno Norbot and going against the standard music formulas of the time. They ignored the verse, chorus, bridge sort of way of making music. Went out to use any instrument that wasn't a musical instrument, a drill, a chainsaw, a piece of metal, and basically founded the industrial movement along with bands like the Crooks.
someone there to give me water every day.
Then in about 1985, a lot of bands came along and started incorporating electronics and samplers and sequences into industrial music. And it became more danceable, and it changed into the type of music that we now know as electronic body music. Bands like Front 2 for 2 and Frontline Assembly. In about 1989, they started incorporating the distorted heavy metal guitars into the sequenced and sampled music, and that music's now called cyber. The Gothic scene's just been around forever. It's a small scene, but it's a very loyal, undying scene. The music hasn't changed that much since it started in the late 70s. There are new forms of Gothic music like dark wave, death rock, but the standard concept of Gothic music, the way they dress, the way the bands perform, has remained unchanged.
I specifically represent the Gothic subculture. We were around quite a lot in the 80s, but I'm afraid we faded out with time, so there's only a few of us left.
The lines are becoming blurred between the different types of music. You know, Gothic bands doing remixes for industrial bands, rock bands doing remixes for Gothic bands, etc. So you can't split it neatly into categories anymore, because all the lines are becoming blurred, everything's interchanging, interbreeding, and resulting in some very interesting music.
Not to mention interesting videos with artists like Trent Reznor producing David Bowie. Drawn to the Pretoria and Joburg-based Fridge, the various clans dance through the night.
Fridge started 10 years ago, 1986, as a small little underground alternative club. We used to pull about 50 or 60 people, regularly hassled by the police and everyone else, but we survived and carried on, and we're still here after 10 years.
Urban rites play an important part in this very visual subculture. Their bodies bear the marks of tattoo artists and body piercers. You are who you are, and are accepted for it as the emphasis shifts onto clothes, makeup, performance, as an essential part of your individuality. Dancing is a vehicle for inner expression, and you can step into any dark corner and do exactly as you please. There are no limits, no image police.
Well, it's much more interesting than doing the rave scene and doing all those other boring scenes.
I'm really into the Celts and the medieval stuff and the American Indian things, and this is about as close as I can get.
It takes a lot to live a lifestyle like this. I mean, to get changed, to go out, it takes at least a solid hour. I mean, you don't just put on a t-shirt and a pair of jeans. But that's half the fun, getting dressed up. We take a lot of flack from people in general, in public. You know, they're not rather fond of the way we dress.
The thing is not to fight about it, not to start a war, and basically what the Fridge has done up to now is we've stayed underground. If we irritate people, we move somewhere where we don't irritate them.
I think frustration, those feelings of anger that some people suppress, we find a way in the music to sort of bring about this catharsis, if you wish. It's also a way of, I think, handling our environment. Staying in Joburg is different than staying in any other place in South Africa, because it's violent and it's fast. And that's what's, well, much of the music is violent and fast. But in general, we try to have a very, very good time. Battery 9 started when I bought a sampler and started making music on it. It's crept in everywhere. Electronic music. It's great.
And when we play live, we have 1, 2, 3, basically 4 percussion setups where each of us play metal percussion on pieces of metal and air vents.
Create an ambient, almost, well, factory-like ambience at the back.
And I also do live action painting in the background while they play on a huge canvas that we stretch behind the band.
And I think we try to make the show as entertaining as possible, you know, like...
Kiss the Machine, their first single to receive daytime airplay, is climbing up the South African top 40 at the moment.
People shouldn't waste their time on any other drug.
A dysfunctional fire hazard, live Jimmy Presley subvert icons and braai the sacred cows of popular culture.
Well, live Jimmy Presley, the way I see it is that it's a band of universal importance. I think the most important concept for me as far as where we are coming from is that we could come from anywhere, we could come from any time. I don't like to think of ourselves as being labelled as part of this so-called industrial movement that's happening. Just because we use scrap metal and industrial instruments, we're not just there being musicians. Like, we are actually like giving people a show. We're giving them something to feel. Otherwise, I mean, why go and watch a band? That's what bands in South Africa are. They basically jerk off for their guitars. Who wants to see that? People want to see, people want to be entertained. That's why they go to movies. They can smell us, they can taste us, they can fear us, they can feel us. There's the constant threat of danger.
Blank dialectic zombie dream house! Why die 'cause you ask goodbye?
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 Viva Fury Mannequin Dredge! Dig your grave and bang your head.
Underground music, as a rule, alternative music is based on the lyrics. Dance music is there to dance to. Pop music is I love you baby, or I don't love you anymore, or I used to love you. Alternative music explores themes. It's political music. It's music about racialism, about questioning the existence of God, questioning social values, social structures, our political systems and that. Yeah, it challenges your accepted standards. If you listen to a song and the guy starts going on about necrophilia and pedophilia, no one wants to know about it. It makes you think about those things. It doesn't leave it hidden away in the cupboard, something that no one speaks about. It's exploring the lost taboos.
Something's going wrong inside. I'm starting to wear my girlfriend's underwear. I think I'm turning Japanese.
Does he want my dad?
Fix, slut, frail, crabs, fuck. The albino tar bugs use words as weapons. Lyrical terrorism. Words with a serrated edge. Language as a way of life.
We basically started out because of the reaction against the music that's happening in this country and everything's happening as far as we are concerned. We don't know if there's anybody out there who wants to listen to what we're doing anyway.
Fuck you and fuck them! We got to not care!
In society, you're supposed to do certain things, you're supposed to act a certain way. and we just feel, just do what you feel, just do what you think.
The South African audiences are very, very, very scared of anything that's not sounding like what they already know. They're scared to venture out there and discover new things. Things are very contemporary.
Yeah, very much too far gone, you know.
Yeah,
everything's
commercial. You have
commercial.
to deal with all these things, and you just want people to realize they can be free. They can do whatever they want to. You know, they can rock the boat a bit.
Yeah, don't forget, this is a schizophrenia party. We got one old track, one new track for the first half an hour or so. Just stick around
Cool stuff though. I think people just sort of, they just like this, the fact that they can openly go to a place where they can indulge in a bit of dark side of themselves. You know, there's a lot of stigma attached to alternative music. You know, they think, okay, well, you're alternative, if you're wearing black in it, then there must be something evil about you. But it's not like that at all. I mean, you could probably say that about metal. Americans are different from Europeans. That's always been, especially in the goth scene, it's always been like that. They just seem to have their own sort of thing going on. I'm sure it's the same down here too.
Yeah, Gothic seems to be more Eurocentric, whereas like guitar-orientated music comes from America, like Ministry and stuff like that. You know,
We play sets, half an hour goth, half an hour industrial. We've opened up a shop inside the club called the Dark Room. We sell stuff in the shop that we play in the club, so it works quite nicely. You know, I've been bringing in music for quite a long time.
Formed in April 1986, No Friends of Harry are the longest-serving goth band in South Africa, with a die-hard following who just refuse to give up the black.
We've always had a major problem with being totally commercial in our marketing, because we grew from being a totally alternative gothic band, which you didn't do that sort of thing. We have grown up to a point to be willing to use a lot more advertising and TV and things like that. I mean, everybody gets corrupted at some point or another, and well, here we are now.
Billed as the gathering of introverts and set in Johannesburg, the murder capital of the world, Hardcore 96 was the meeting point of punk, death metal, goth, and all shades in between. Up first is the darker-than-thou sound of The Awakening.
Salute the fascist consortium. Auschwitz in your backyard. Incineration, desecration. Flying the flag doesn't heal a scar. Retrospective annihilation. Heresy, tyranny.
There's been a bit of a resurgence of gothish ideas internationally. We've always enjoyed that kind of music, which is why we play it. As for the whole gothic scene, it's more introspective than rock music, which is any other, well, rock or, yeah, but anything that people usually sort of put it with, you know. It's not as aggressive.
Harder, faster, louder than goth are the death metal heads. Bored with suburban living, they use violence as a way of dealing with reality. But violence never really changed anything. A bit like banging your head against the wall, actually.
Metal isn't actually a type of alternative music. It's a music field in its own. But because of the lack of metal radio stations, metal clubs and that, the metal fans often end up in alternative clubs. So metal is also changing a bit because of that. A lot of the metal bands are incorporating industrial and gothic elements into it.
It was formed out of a lot of anger and a lot of being pissed off with the cock rock bands out of this country.
I think, a lot of people sort of pay lip service to the hardcore thing. They want to be seen to be extreme and on the edge,
In this country, it's so fucked up. As soon as there's competition, instead of saying, hey, it's healthy, let's stick together and do the network thing and grow it as a family, bands have actually killed it themselves.
You might have noticed the Joburg looks like a fucking toilet. Unlike Cape Town, it's nice and fucking clean, right? But whether it's a toilet or not, it's our fucking toilet! This is not Joburg called Brown Sugar Country!
We had to expand boundaries, not live in our shells. We want to take music a bit further. That's why we just play a mix of everything, from punk to rock to industrial to whatever we feel like. If it sounds good and it feels like us, then we'll play it.
Basically, what we started off as, like I said, was just to do something really heavy, really aggressive, and or basically just be the fastest, heaviest band we could. And I think we've progressed a bit, past that, but it still boils down to just being really, really heavy and aggressive. No matter what we write, no matter how experimental it goes, or whatever, it's still got to be really, really harsh.
Christian hardcore? More Spanish Inquisition than Sunday school picnic. These guitar molesters for Jesus are reclaiming an evangelic tradition where the might of God is all-powerful. This is no sing-along. This is the Lord's Prayer, hardcore style. No compromise. Jesus is the only answer.
The generation we're moving into is looking for answers. Okay, they're looking for music that has emotion and feelings. Okay, and that's what hardcore is. Hardcore comes from your gut.
Our society oppresses people, so people want to vent, and it's a good way to vent.
This is our band's logo, and it says here, death to life, rising in Christ. It's just sort of a spiritual meaning for me. Cool.
Emmanuel, God is with us. Punctuality. Yes. Punctuality, that's all that we stand for.
So what's the point?
We're taking the piss out of the whole rock thing, the rock band thing, because we don't generate any sounds on stage. We put a DAT tape in the background and we smash things. Consumer products that failed.
Well, talk about pushing the limits.
Innovation and drive seem to be what's steering the South African cultural scene right now.
On the subject of drive, we are driven to find out what you want on the works.
So, get connected. Send us an email and let us know how we can best connect with you.
Yeah, and we need your support in our bid to keep this relatively early 9:45 p.m. slot, so keep the feedback alive.
Till then, cheers.
Psychosomatic, addict, insane. Brings the pressure. Can blame the game, I'll test ya. Psycho.